Hey everybody, this is Ibarionex from the Candid Frame. Before we get into the images, I want to let you know that next week I'll be participating in Street Week in LA. It's a street photography festival. I think this is its third or fourth year, and it's hosted by the Los Angeles Center of Photography, where I occasionally teach. They're going to have speakers each evening. I'm included, and other photographers, not just from LA, are going to be speaking there. Nick Turpin, formerly of In Public, he's probably one of the more famous street photographers who's going to be in attendance, is the keynote speaker. They're going to have workshops. They're also going to be doing an exhibit, and just a whole slew of things that are going to be going on. My workshop, and I think Nick's workshop, is full, but there may be some slots open in some of the other workshops, and you might want to get on the waiting list if you're interested. And in May, I'm going to be also attending the Focus on the Story Photo Festival. And rather than focusing on street photography, this is more on photojournalism and documentary photography. I'm also going to be teaching a 2-day workshop there, but just like in LA, there are going to be speakers, presentations, a whole host of things. I think this is the event's second year, and if you want to find out more, click on the links below, or just type in the URL that you see here on your screen, and hope to see some of you there. Now, what I want to talk about today is something that I've talked about before, which is this idea of photographing at night. So many of the images that we see are typically photographed during the daytime, especially with quote unquote great light. I think a lot of people put away their cameras, despite the fact that today's cameras are really incredibly capable of photographing under really low light conditions. But I think most people just don't think to use their cameras when the sun is gone. And I selected 3 images that reveal that there's a lot of potential to photographing in the evening if you know what to look for. Okay, here we have a shot by Rex Lisman. This was created with a Panasonic GH5 at 1/13 of a second at f6.3, ISO 800. Now, one of the reasons that people avoid shooting at night is there are a variety of reasons. One, they don't want to increase their ISO because they're concerned with noise, or they're afraid that their image is going to be soft because they don't have the benefit of a tripod. But both of those issues are really not reasons with today's technology to not make the photograph, because you can always increase your ISO to achieve that faster shutter speed. And if you have the benefit of a fast lens, you can open up your aperture to get, yes, a little less depth of field, but more light coming in through the lens. And if you have a camera or a lens that has image stabilization, it makes it all the more easier to make the shot happen. Considering that he's using such a slow shutter speed, he may have been using a tripod, or maybe the camera that he has or the lens that he was using has image stabilization. Either is possible, but don't let those sort of technical issues deter you from at least trying to make the shot, because you can make some wonderful discoveries of a scene that you otherwise might never consider for a photograph. And this night scene with this artificial light providing the primary light source, and the mist and the moodiness it creates, is a really striking image for me. I especially like the mist, the wetness of the streets, and how it reflects the lighting, and how it reveals the texture of the street. That strong contrast of the red of the sign with almost the greenish, bluish hue that pervades the entire frame is really interesting. And then we have this great light and shadow play that helps to frame that shot, especially that center area. But the thing that, of course, draws you in is the light, the sign of the light from the sign, as well as that lamp, really draw you into the scene. But there's so much more to explore that make the shot very interesting. And you'll find that often in times when you're driving around in a city or a town, especially late at night or very early in the morning, you'll see an abundance of scenes like this that are absent people, but still have the potential for a really interesting photograph. I think this qualifies just as much as someone walking down the street as a street photograph. Okay, I don't get locked into this idea that in order to be a street photograph, you have to include a human figure in it. I think that the presence of people are suggested in a lot of photographs like this. And don't get bogged down by whether or not it fits a category or not. This is about light. This is about color, which is just as much of importance when you're shooting in the daytime. So reconsider when you shoot, because moments like this are everywhere if you tune yourself in and look for them. Okay, here we have a shot by Andrew Seywright. This was created with an X100F. We don't have any XF data here. So this is a gas station, and this is a really interesting shot, again, because of the quality of the light. This is more likely at twilight. The sun is already set, and so we get that cool, that very saturated blue in the sky, and it hasn't gone completely black. There's still some sunlight present in the sky here. And as a counterpoint, we have the artificial illumination that's provided by the gas station itself. So we see the lights that illuminate the tanks where people pump gas, the signage that reads Gulf, all of which is reflected in a little patch of water in the road, which just mirrors everything that we're seeing in the top half of the frame. We even see some of the light spilling off into an area where it looks like there's a street sign or a stop sign, where I see little patches of green. And then on the right-hand side, we have a structure which I guess is associated with the gas station where an attendant might be, or they might sell other elements. But this scene is really beautiful for the way that light and color are used. And the fact that he's shooting at twilight is really a big key, because as much as we photograph during the day, there's this moment that after the sun has set, that the sky takes on this quality. It's not for very long, but if you can leverage it with a scene like this, with artificial light sources, it can produce a remarkable result here. And I really love the look of the shot here. If anything, I might have liked if there was a vehicle, moving through the scene, and you could have used maybe a slow shutter speed to get the streak of either the taillights or the headlights in the background there. But that's I'm always looking for small things that can take that image a little bit further. But I really like the overall feel and the mood of this shot, and just the beauty of how it's rendered, and the shape of the roof or the overhang that exists over the tanks is really almost otherworldly. That sort of rectangular shape that seems to almost kind of levitate over the ground where the tanks are, where people would drive up their cars. Really interesting. And I can't say enough about the color play. They get the blue of the sky that's mirrored in the pillars, and the blue of the pillars, but that yellow and orange stripe and that little green of lawn, all those little accents of color are really neat. And I really like the quality of the trees. It looks like this is shot during the winter season, because there are no leaves on those trees. And you can see how the branches of those trees are so well defined within the frame, adding another wonderful element to the photograph. Here we have a shot by Byron Segraves. This was created with a Leica Q at 1/60th of a second, f2.8, ISO 800. Now here's a shot that's also done at night, and I think it's also at twilight, because you can still see some details in the sky, or maybe there's some moonlight out that's helping to define the presence of the clouds in the sky. But whatever the case there, it's still shot in the evening. And I really like how this shot of this guy in the Volkswagen Bug is framed. He's right smack dab in the middle, but he has all these things, especially the wheel wells of the car here, that help to sort of frame him. The door frame here, the shape of this light is just perfectly situated to showcase his hat and his face. I mean, that light brings us smack dab here to his presence within the frame. And all these other parallel lines, like these poles here, the lines of the car, the wheel wells, the tires themselves, are mirrored on either side, and basically framing him in this spot here. It really is a really beautiful and effective use of composition. But how many shots like this have you seen at night and not thought to make a photograph? Because your camera is in your camera bag, which is in your trunk or in your back seat. And you see a moment like that, and it's too late to make a photograph because the light's changed, and the guy is off. For me, I'm always having a camera in hand at night. And even though I may not produce as many effective photographs at night as I do during the daytime, man, there have been a few times when I have regretted not having the presence of the camera. But you can see, even though this is a black and white image, how the light, all the light here is just doing some really magical stuff, from the way the car is rendered to the way that I guess this is a 7-Eleven, how this light shines down on him. We have some light coming through the windshield and illuminating his face. We have the lights here, the street lights here that are reflected on the cars. We have a Chinese food sign in the back. Light here, just like the other two images, is really a big at play here, but it's also about line and shape. And line and shape complemented by light and shadow. All of that stuff comes together really beautifully. I don't know what this image would look like in color, but there may have been some distractions because of color, which led Byron to convert this over to a black and white. But it has all the great qualities that you could ever want from a photograph. And I feel just a sense of gesture just from the way the guy is just sitting there behind the wheel, clutching the steering wheel, waiting for the light to change so he can move on. And it's a really nice moment, and a moment that I commend Byron for being at the ready for with his camera, because it would have been a really sad thing had he missed it because he didn't have his camera ready. All right, hope you found that helpful. The most recent episode of The Candid Frame featured me, for a change. Jamie Rose, who's a former guest to the show, approached me about interviewing me for the show, which I hesitated about doing it, but I'm really glad that I did. It's a little longer episode than normal, but a lot of people have sent me messages that they really have enjoyed learning more about me, and you can check it out by going to thecandidframe.com. And if you want to receive I have an ebook on street photography, as well as two other ebooks that I've written on in the past. And they're available for free when you sign up for the Candid Frame newsletter, which you can do by going here to the Candid Frame website and going to the top here where it says newsletter. Just provide me with your name and email address, and we'll send them out to you completely free. And I promise not to sell your information to anyone. That's just for my use here to promote the show and all the variety of things that we do here. Or you can also click on the links below. And if you like what you're seeing here in these videos, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.